you can drive a car, you could find. And that was like my calling to public service. I knew I had to serve and help others.
And child trafficking is, to me, one of the most egregious things that a human could possibly do.
Bringing awareness to the situation. People are straight blinded by the situation.
You should be buried very deep, in my opinion. For those listening, watching that don't know me, my name is Anthony Thomas. Welcome to the podcast. I have a lovely special guest today who we're going on 30 years of friendship together. And this is a special podcast, not only for us catching up a little bit more thoroughly on some fun stuff, but also because we're going to try our best to to be careful as we talk about some kick-ass experiences in life from our childhood growing up together and fun stuff that we would probably get in trouble for, running around in woods and building stuff and among whatever other wild stuff. But I can vouch thoroughly and have vouched thoroughly over the years for this being a fantastic man. This is the first friend that I could think of, and especially now, like I'm in my kind of entrepreneurial journey, this is the first friend that I could think of who inspired me, let's say, to be an entrepreneur. Like the youngest working person that I know personally, where I remember, I mean, I don't know how many different hats you were wearing even before middle school, from DJing dances in middle school to all kind of different odd jobs, manual labor, all these things. Just so many different hats that I remember this guy wearing. So I don't want to do the intro. I'm going to pass it over to you to give an introduction of who we are chatting with here today. And we're just going to sit and have a nice old chat and catch up.
Absolutely. My name is Gideon. I've been a lifelong friend of Anthony's, grown up since, God, the first time I remember us playing down on the playground at Seven Oaks Elementary School back, when we were probably 6 years old. Growing up playing sports, always being involved with something, whether you're coming over to my home and working our odd jobs down planting trees for the crazy old lady, or playing baseball together, growing up through middle school and high school. Since graduating high school, joined the Army, been in over 10 years, lots of different jobs, been all over the world, heavily involved in nonprofit work, still an entrepreneur. I've got some side jobs I'm working on while still being active duty in the Army. Family man and kind of all the above. I enjoy it all and inspire people to try to live life and live life to the fullest. So same to you, like great respect when I saw your first ad. I think it was you in like the Army football jerseys when you started modeling and all that stuff, to now Toyota commercials and Bowflex commercials. Like, that's my man right there.
Yeah.
That was a little bit about me.
I love it. Yeah, started in the tree forts in your backyard.
Yeah, you saved my life, I think, at like 8 years old.
This is give that story. Give that story real quick. That's the fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're building a tree fort, like building an air in flight. Like we're bringing like one board at a time. We're probably 50, 60 feet off the ground, and we have no idea what we're doing. And I'm trying to reach out just a little bit farther to get a nail in, and I think we've tied some shitty piece of rope around my waist and have it fashioned around the tree that you're holding on to, and I fall. And I'm dangling by just a piece of rope and 30 feet in the air, and I think there's a chicken coop and barbed wire and all sorts of stuff down below that I probably would have died, and you're down with your big ass arms and grabbed me and pulled me up, and then we just got right back to work and then continued to make a crappy tree fort that survived me.
Oh God, that is hilarious. That's the type of adventures that we would find ourselves on, which was just epic. I mean, the best childhood, as they're calling it now, there's like names for it, latchkey kids and everything. When we would get together, this was the one friend who, if I could looking back at my life, if I can go, man, there's a guy I should have spent way more time with, it's definitely you, because the entrepreneurial spirit, the drive to just constantly improve and get better and better, and just your willingness to just try stuff and just send it. That's something that I look back on. I'm like, man, I admire the hell out of that in you, and definitely, I definitely have fond memories, and I just laugh my ass off at stuff like this and plenty of other experiences. And then also you being a good prankster as well, that type of spirit.
Yeah,
There's always
you know,
yeah, always some good laughs there.
looking back, and we laughed growing up of the old guys be like, oh, I could walk around with a rifle on my back, or back in my day, I walked 6 miles to school. I mean, we can say that about ourselves now.
True.
Making explosives out of fireworks and being down the ditch doing it.
Allegedly. This is on, yeah, this is on the record here. So allegedly, yeah, making explosives out of fireworks, different style explosives out of different style fireworks too, and the variety there. So I don't want to do anything incriminating here. We're gonna move past that. Yeah, man, for sure, good times. But I'm curious, for folks that have no idea who you are, no idea who I am, what should people know about you and like your childhood, your upbringing? What should people know about you to get a decent understanding of like what's made you to the man that you are today?
I'd say, family, um, being able to have that support network, and giving others what they can't get themselves. Being a person that helps others that are unable to help themselves, and paying it forward. If you haven't seen that movie, it's super old, but it's a great movie. The pay it forward concept is huge. Um, I've tried to always live my life that way. I think that was kind of our friend group that we were around. We always kind of lived that mantra, as well as our families. Family was just different back then. The ideals and values that we grew up with are, I think, huge of how we shape ourselves today, and that's how your children should turn out one day as well. So it's kind of always live that mantra, and pay it forward wherever you can.
Yeah. What sort of experiences, when you look back at, and you're kind of like the old man looking back at your life and thinking of childhood, what sort of experiences for you do you look at and you go, oh, this is what led me to the life I live now? Because I'll tell you right now, I remember when you told me you were joining the military, I was baffled. Now, it's not baffling because everybody we grew up with, all of our friends, we grew up in a military town. All of our friends were in the military. Their parents were military. It wasn't baffling in that sense. It was baffling to me because you were, like I said, you were the one friend that I had that I was like, this is just straight up entrepreneur through and through. Not like, oh, I'm going to take orders from somebody else or anything. Like, you were such a self-starter, and you were so driven in so many different areas, and it was just like, wait, what? Like, what led to that? So when you look back, what is it that you experienced it growing up where you were like, oh, of course my life path would take me this route?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so. Growing up, my father was in the military. He left when I was 5. I saw him a dozen times before he died, not too long ago. And being involved in the Big Brother, Big Sister program, I got a big brother that, this man, this stranger out of nowhere, had the kindness in his heart to come adopt me, and show me those fatherly like skills, and helped put in those ideologies into my head. He was a school teacher. He volunteered. So that was kind of a huge part when I wasn't around, all my friends like your dad, and Kyle and his family, and all my other friends. Really, that was kind of what got me into that mindset. And then I got involved in the Police Explorer program. I was a police cadet from, 15 to 21, and that was like my calling to public service. I knew I had to serve and help others, because I just kind of had a knack for it. Still doing other things on the side. Kind of love the idea of building a future and making money and you know, being happy with, you know, the job's not a job if you enjoy it. It's a hobby. But then 2007, when we graduated high school and the economy crashed and all those cops lost their jobs, you know, I was nicely told that I'm not going to get hired anytime soon when I was eligible to be a cop, because they're going to hire all those people that they fired for the last years because they had to let them go because of, you know, economy reasons. So that was like, you know, it's time to do something bigger than myself. I'm going to take a leap of faith and join the military. And it was, you know, looking back, it's gone by so fast, but it was a huge blessing. It's taught me so much. It's given me so many opportunities that can also now help me with on my entrepreneurial side. And it's just been a great ride so far.
I love that, man. Yeah, I remember this. I remember, I don't know if it was you, but I remember a guy who was a police explorer who was the only person I remember that installed a PA system in their own vehicle. And,
Forgot
you
about
know,
that.
is this
Yeah,
shareable?
yeah, go for it. Send it.
This friend that I know installed a PA system in his own personal vehicle, that's legal. It's not like that's illegal to do, right? To have a PA system, you know, where it's like the loud bullhorn and you could talk from inside, you know, on the little CB walkie for those unaware. But I remember many nights where I would just get a call or just show up at my front door to hop in and go cruise, you know, like Walmart parking lot and just heckle people and
Yeah,
roasting
shit.
people
Yeah.
and scaring people. This is like a fantastic memory that I have for sure. Many different times, but yeah, I remember this guy was also a police explorer in that era, which is
Yeah.
interesting. um, Yeah, okay, so that does make sense because yeah, I mean when you're like this is my path, and I remember that too. I remember the amount of pride that you had in, you know, wearing the uniform and everything like that when I was like, look at Paul Blart, Mall Cop, even though this was before Mall Cop. But, you know, it was like top flight security of the world, you know, the Explorer here, and I remember how much pride you had and going and doing that, and as much of a prankster and trickster as you are, I never saw you put anybody's life or livelihood in danger, which is that's a distinct thing for me. I love pranks. I love pranks, but tasteful pranks, in my opinion, are when both parties can laugh about something. It's not like, you know, we're pranking people at one person's expense. Now, granted, you know, in teenage years, we might have crossed the line a little bit here and there, but for the most part, pranking, like innocent pranks, you know, kind of trolling people on a PA system, that sort of stuff, like that friend I told you about, that's fun, entertaining stuff. But I do remember you, when you were an explorer, being very full of pride with this, and then I can imagine that when you kind of see your whole path, and like, especially like we were close to Lever, right? Officer Lever, that was like our dude. Um, he was retired Marine Corps sniper, like fantastic dude, right? And he
Yeah,
was
I still
our
keep in touch with them.
yeah, our school resource officer. This dude was just such a cool guy. Like, still to this day, I think he's one of the best police officers I've ever known, by far. He was calm, cool, collected, well trained, in shape, like took everything seriously, very professional, but someone that you could talk to. But he was also always, you know, always on alert, and it's like RoboCop. You know, I remember this dude. He was just so good. Lever, so much love to him. So you go, all right, here's my path. I see it. I'm gonna be police officer. Everything's looking good, and then boom, housing market and the global market crash essentially, and now it's like police officers fired, let go, and everybody on force that you were friends with is like, yeah, it's not looking good. We're not going to hire you anytime soon. So now this path that was pretty clear for you is wiped away. It's like sandstorm blown over. Everything is just wiped away. So you're like, what can I do that's a guarantee and also providing service? Is this right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, I'm fighting a sneeze. Bless me. So, so you join, and then at this point, do you know what you want to do in the military? Are you just like, I just know that, my dad served, and everyone around us, of course, like all our friends' parents and everybody served, and you see, and it's that lifestyle is just very familiar. It's like, cool, you're a government employee, that check always shows up, your family's taken care of, all that stuff. Is that the whole like length of the vision that you saw at that point, where you're just like, this is guaranteed and it's public service? Or are you like, I'm specifically wanting to go for kind of this role, that role, and military is kind of the way to go for it?
I kind of had a plan of I wanted to get a job that I could use to help towards like ultimate goal. I think was do 6 years, get a skill, and then take it out to the civilian side, and then be able to apply that and go back into law enforcement was kind of my idea.
Yeah.
Didn't really know the jobs that I wanted to do. I went into contracts on the intelligence side, so I knew that would help me with my law enforcement later down the road, and that was kind of my plan. I knew all of our friends and family were in the military. They were happy with the military life, but I had not a clue. I was going in alone and afraid to this exciting new adventure that was crazy. Joined on Valentine's Day and was shipped off, and that was like the start of a new chapter in my life.
Yeah. Man. And then your experience going through this, has it been something that you feel like you've had to fight for? Because the way that I'm trying to think of folks that aren't familiar with military at all, like somebody that's like the U.S. military, how does it work and all this stuff, like, yeah, there's different ranks, but like, how do you earn the rank? Is it just time spent when you just, if you're there long enough, you put on major? Or it's like, no, it's actually competitive, right? You're fighting for a certain number of slots, and you have to build your resume up and all this stuff. So as you're thinking of originally, I'll do 5-6 years, pick up some skills, take it out into the public world or the private sector or whatever it may be. And then you're in there and you're like, oh, I have these options for different schools that I can go to and different trainings that I can pick up and all this stuff. And I can stack my resume, and then I can rank up, which most recently you just, as of like a month ago, got a promotion. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you.
that's something that's, talk a little bit about that process for folks, like just kind of a broad brushstroke for folks that are completely unaware of like, how does the U.S. military even work?
Yeah, so specifically with the Army, it's kind of what you make of it. They're there to provide you, a standard of living, a skill, a profession. You do that. You're a part of a team. You work for the big picture. There's no individualism in any branch, but in the Army, you're working to whatever your unit's mission is to accomplish. You can absolutely go in there and do the bare minimum and do your 4 years and get out, and you're kind of qualified. You might have made a rank or two, but really it's what you make of it. There's so many amazing programs that you can better yourself and make you have one hell of a resume. From civilian schooling, they'll pay for you to go to college. I've gotten my bachelor's and my master's degree through the Army. They pay for you to go do basically trade skills. Anything you're interested in, as long as it can kind of tie it to your job, it's doable. I've traveled all over. I've been to, probably 10 different countries. I think I'm at 6 or 7 duty stations in the United States. You can travel, you can kind of stay put. It's really what you make of it. One of my old leaders kind of told me, you are in charge of your career. You can talk to somebody that was in for 4 years and they hated it, and you asked what they did every weekend, and they probably played video games and stayed in their rooms the entire time that they were wherever they were at a location. But when I was deployed to an area and I wasn't working, I'd go sightsee. I'd go see beautiful country that I just got a free vacation out of.
Paid.
Paid vacation.
Even better than free.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're paying for your food and your housing. Like, you literally just go out and explore and have the time of your life. And then, I think that directly leads into your work-life balance. And if you can have a good balance between the two, you're going to be a better performer. You're going to be happier with yourself, and you're going to be able to accomplish great things. I definitely think everyone should serve, and it's a great experience. Um, Definitely, there were times where I'm like, why the hell am I here? It's usually on the the basic training side, and then when I switched into special operations, and we do specific sessions and selections and SEER schools and things like that, where they're roughing you up a little bit. I'm like, man, like this was a horrible choice. Like, what am I doing in this spot right now? I could be, at home in my warm bed, but I'm eating a possum that I killed and freezing my ass off. But looking back, like that was the one of the best experiences of my life that I always remember. But you gotta kind of weigh it out, your pros and your cons. But
Yeah. Yeah. Why is it for you, like you mentioned, you feel like everybody should serve, like everyone should serve in the United States military? I'm assuming that's what you meant by serve, right?
yeah,
Not just like public service, not like police force or EMT or anything like that, but like in the
we brought
military.
it out to that maybe everyone should be able to do some kind of public service, whether it is EMT, firefighter, police, military. Maybe
Yeah.
do some kind of skill or a trade that supports that. Like you don't have to. There's we need the people that make our guns and bullets, and the people that make our trucks. Like all that is service to the bigger picture. Not a lot
Yeah.
of people see that.
Yeah, for sure. So I have two questions on that point. For one, what is it you feel that serving provides somebody in their life or provides the greater community that it's like for you, it's a must do? That's the first question. And the second question is, what do you make of, like for myself, for example, I've never served in any capacity of that sort, right? I come from military family, like multiple generation military family. I've never served. I had plenty of thoughts of serving over the years of like, oh, go sign the dotted line, go join it. Especially it started with lever in high school. I was like, oh, Marine Corps and sniper, like that's the business, right? And I think like every little boy, especially you and I running and gunning in the woods with sticks or BB guns or, whatever else, and playing that the SF guy out at war and all this stuff. And I think there is a pull to that, especially as an American boy, right? I don't know about, I'm not going to speak globally, but growing up as a young American boy, there was definitely a pull of like, this is what I should go do. It's like it's badass, right? Especially, you know, not to hate on it right now, but I'm in the marketing and advertising world in some sense, and lately U.S. Army's been slacking. But when we were growing up, it was like epic. You're seeing them present like epic operations where you go, whoa, I get to play basically G.I. Joe, right? So I always had that pull, that desire. But for me, the distinction was I I admire and I want and the training, like what you were talking about, right? You can basically train and learn as much as you want. I admire and I love that capability. But when I look at it, I'm like, man, I love our servicemen and women deeply. I dislike how our military has been deployed over the years. Like, I totally support and love the service people, how the military as a whole has been used and weaponized, and where the leaders of our government and country have sent our military is where I have some qualms with. And so that's part of it, though, right? It's like when you raise your hand and you swear in, it's like you're going to battle for whoever, whatever they say, wherever. So how do you wrestle with that sort of distinction? Because you've served under several different presidents and different sides of the aisle, and I'm sure there's probably times, like you said, not just at basic and not just at SEER when you're like starving and getting smacked around and all that stuff, but other times when you go, man, on an individual level, this would not be my jam, but I am in a role where I committed to this, and so I'm going to show up. So how do you reconcile with that as it pertains to service?
Yeah, so I think the answer to the first question is just being involved in, it's a community for the greater good of everybody, yourself, your friends, your family, the future children that are going to be coming up after you. It's just a duty to help into that. It's kind of like, you know, you can't be bothered by something and not be able to attempt to fix it, or give your input and things like that. So it gives you another level of respect and understanding. I think the biggest thing, regardless of what political party you are, or where you sit on one side or the other, if you're a fence sitter, like the only like truly absolute defined way that you can like make a decision and stick with your side, whatever the side it is understanding that other side. Um, because ignorance isn't an excuse for you to give a reason, or a side. Like just an overall understanding, you're better prepared, and you can, you know, you move on and live your life that way, and you're more informed. So I think that just kind of helps with the overall picture, and then I think it kind of brings, you don't have on the bigger picture on the military side, it, you know, it limits the need for a draft if we ever had one again, like back in, you know, in the World War eras, that having those drafts and things like that. It just, I think it would give a better shared understanding of the military for people serving, and I think it would bring more respect to the military, even though from traveling all over the world, and America is known for having a greatly supported military. So we do have that. We do idolize and fantasize about military operations and heroes, and that's great. That's something that we have that no other country in the world has. For your second question, I don't know. It's tough to look, but you kind of always got to take a look at the bigger picture. You might not understand. You know, I don't do this anymore, but you know, back when you first enlist and you're a brand new soldier, you got to sit in a guard post or do something shitty. You got to sit out and stay up for 24 hours and pull guard. Well, it's like, yeah, that sucks, but you're literally responsible for the lives of, you know, your whole base, your whole unit. If something bad happened, like you were that one person that could save lives. It probably won't ever happen, like God forbid, like something like that would happen, but that's that huge impact. And then talking more strategically at big decisions on where military goes, like that can be frustrating. I went through selection and the qualification course with the last U.S. Army soldier that died in Afghanistan. I knew him pretty well. Amazing man, American hero, and I mean that was a devastating time. There was, you know, mistakes are made. We're all human. It's not, you know, we're not ran by AI yet, so it's tough to watch, and you know, we can all be the whatever they call it, the armchair quarterback of saying, you know, we should have done it better or this better, but I try to look at it by like what the facts that they had at the time they made the decision. Was that the best? Was that the best outcome? Was that the best choice? And then kind of go with there. And you know, you learn not to. I wouldn't say it's not about questioning authority, but it's like, you know, you respect your leaders because you've worked with them. You've gained trust from both sides, and you kind of go through and just work and make the best out of every decision. And we hope our leaders are, you know, thinking about all that, and we have that faith to our leadership to make decisions where we are. So,
Yeah.
yeah, times are changing, and you know, politics are moving around fast and furious. So it's just, you know, you're along for the ride, make the best of it, and you know, have that call of service to, you know, no regrets, and make sure, you know, you're always being legally and ethically, morally, you know, correct, and you have, you know, live your life to the fullest and enjoy your service.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think the note you made earlier about, like, you know, there's plenty, a lot of different ways to be of service to your nation, right? Like you said, you expanded it beyond just military service or just army and military. It's like, yeah, EMT, police, and public service as we know it that way. But I think that is a value that it's something that it's not like I lost it, but I wasn't giving it a lot of attention, you know, over recent years, where it's like I wasn't serving my community that much, right? And part of that was in my pursuit in competing in long drive, right, in golf. And it was like was very self-serving for me because I love to compete and I love golf and just going out and smashing golf balls as far as you possibly can and competing against the best in the world and the world stage and all that stuff. It was very self-serving, not in the sense of like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be cool. Like, I just genuinely loved it. And just like us as kids, right, is like, who could throw this rock the farthest? Who could throw this baseball the farthest? That fascination has always been there for like, how far can we push those limits? So it wasn't self-serving in the sense of I'm just doing this for clout and, publicity, but it wasn't serving anybody else other than me. It was like, that's what I was pursuing, and that's what was going on for several years. Coming out of that, after having my first son, it was when I go, oh man, things are different here. Like, I have this core unit of people that I'm solely, more or less, in charge of protecting and providing for. And it just changed for me where I'm like, everything that I had looked at for a few years there was like way outwardly and trying to, speak about or fight for this and that and everything that's like tens, thousands of miles away, instead of going, fix my house, then expand to be able to provide more for my community and so on and so forth. So where I'm at now is that inverse, right? Like, I'm like, household solid. Now how can we help our neighborhood? How can we help our city, our town, and so on, and keep expanding in that way? So to me, it's like there's always been a pull for service in the sense of community service in some regard. Whether or not I would answer that call or anything like that wasn't necessarily at the forefront for me, right? At different phases, different chapters of my life. And when you think back on your military career, your time in the Army, roughly 10 years, from start to where you are now, has there been a chapter where you were like, oh, this felt way more service-based than this chapter? And what did that look like? What's the evolution of your time look like?
Yeah, I would say it was my switch into special operations and being regionally aligned, being taught Russian, to be able to, when I deploy over into Eastern Europe areas, that I was able to kind of go in and directly meet with people that the fancy buzzwords we say is like strategic level effects. You're not just a soldier on the ground that's pulling gate guard or out doing a convoy or anything like that. Like meeting with leaders, like country leaders, generals, elected officials, and even down to, we met with a lot of nonprofits and things like that had American ideals and Western ideas and things like that to work with, and that was being able to have huge impacts on groups of people that didn't have the best life. I'd say biggest kind of single moment experience was in Bosnia. I was working with this organization called Citizens Against Terrorism, and they're a group, they call them kids, but in Bosnia they define children from like 16 to 30. That's their youth. And we hosted a conference funded by NATO and brought them in and kind of taught them some life skills, and it was, the goal is to teach them how to be teachers. So we took 60 kids and turned them to be teachers to kind of to spread the way of media literacy, youth empowerment, and just kind of to give themselves a better life that they've been struggling to have the majority of their life growing up and being an oppressed organization and an oppressed country that they live in and region. It was kind of a huge reward for me. So that was kind of my aha moment where it all made sense.
Yeah, that is very cool. What was it called again? Citizens
Against Terrorism, CATS. You could probably find them on social media. They're in Bosnia, so they chose. They're smart with their words and marketing. So they looked up what were the most searched terms when they were creating this nonprofit online, and it was women's breasts, babies, and cats. So then they tried to throw in an acronym that made sense and figure it out, and they're like, oh well, we can name it this. We can be cat. We could be accidentally found in marketing, and it was a great
Brilliant.
marketing ploy, and it stuck. And
That's
don't hang
SEO
in
right
there.
there, boy.
Yeah, and I mean it's great, and they do some funny ass memes, and it's interesting. Like to be successful, like the key to making money on Instagram and things in Eastern Europe is look up last year's memes and then bring them a year ahead, because they're the stuff that we think's old and last year's content. It's fresh and hot in
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Europe. So um,
Got you.
it's funny just to kind of relive their perception on what they think our American memes are, and then using them into their own dialogue and their own way of life. Hilarious.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. That's pretty impactful. So that was when you felt like I'm living up to my service base right here. Is like
Yep.
helping empower these kids, and not just, again, you're not just giving them fish, you're teaching them to fish so that
Hmm.
they can then pass it on and pass it on and pass it on,
Yeah.
which is pretty, yeah, that's pretty epic. And how has that, in terms of the time frame for when you kind of got involved with some of your nonprofit work and when you had that experience, which came first?
So that entire deployment into Eastern Europe is what led me into my involvement with the nonprofit.
Ah,
And it was sheer luck. My military skills is what got me into the nonprofit world, and then just my access and placement I had into the country. So, returning from living in the Balkans for 6 months, I'm home. I run into some like freaking American heroes, legends. Like I can't even speak. I'm just a normal guy compared to these people I work with in the nonprofit. Well, I've been home a couple months. Russian invasion happens into Ukraine, and so they're all coin guys, counterinsurgency guys that have all kind of gotten out. They all speak Arabic. They're all Delta Force operators, badasses, and they're like, "Hey, you're one of the only Russian-speaking dudes we know. Could you come with us into Poland and help rescue some Ukrainian children that are getting trafficked?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, sign me up, but I need to get permission first because I'm not going to be thrown into jail." Um, so that kind of, you know, went through all the processes. It was painful. Got embassy approval. I got my chain of command and everyone to let me go, which I'm completely still shocked to this day that they let me go into a country next to where active war had broken out a week prior. But U.S. government, you can check all my leave and everything, and see that I was good to go, and
we're
and I
squared
went
away, baby.
squared away in G to G. And I went and helped find translators. I met some amazing people. Just the way that the world worked 2 weeks after Russian invasion. I come into Poland, and any country you can think of was there, setting up aid stations, shelters, providing aid. Um, I found this translator that I kind of briefly worked with in another deployment. She linked me up with the Polish like national champion arm wrestler for 100 kilos. So this yoked dude that bought me cars for our mission to go get kids out of Ukraine. We couldn't. The rental car companies have the GPS trackers, and they would shut down the cars in Poland the
Hmm.
moment you crossed into Ukraine because they figure their cars would be lost forever.
Yeah.
So I had the Polish champion arm wrestler go and buy me used cars, and I getting them from him, exchanging the cash, and we going over and I giving them to the operators that are embedded in Ukraine, and rescue orphanages full of children that are just left behind and attempted to be trafficked, and like that was the start of my next calling that I'm still I love doing, and that's kind of I think where my future lies after I'm done with the military.
Yeah. And do you want to get into the foundation that you've come into work with from that
Yeah,
experience? What led you to this foundation?
yeah, absolutely. If the Sentinel Foundation will have me when I retire, like that, I think will be like the clear next step of my chapter of service, and then my next chapter of my life. So
Yeah. So Sentinel Foundation. Sentinel Foundation. Essentially, it's a nonprofit that the sole focus is rescuing children who are being trafficked.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've kind of evolved into crisis support. They've gone and helped during natural disasters, like Hurricane Helene, and just anything. They're just great Americans that have a same calling to service like mine, but do primarily focus on helping bring awareness and helping recover those trafficked children. And it's a great program.
This makes me think you have servicemen, servicewomen who are committed and dedicated and again, like what we were talking about earlier, sign, raise the hand, swear in, defend under multiple different political views, political leaders, this president, that president, doesn't matter. Answer the call to service. And in that process where you're kind of compartmentalizing, like you were explaining earlier, where you're like, I'm looking at it and my belief about whatever the decision is my own, but I still am going to answer my call, right? And this to me seems like that, not a scapegoat, that's not the word. It's like that perfect sidestep, that perfect way to still live and drive by your own values, even if what you're having to do in your service isn't really the way that you would choose to do things. It's like, okay, I'm in service, I'm doing this, that's great, but Sentinel Foundation, I can take all of my skills from service, I can go apply it to something that is so meaningful to me, even if it's not the direct cause or the direct mission of my branch of service. This is the direct purpose for me, so I can join an organization like this and support them, whether you're on their payroll or contracting or whatever, or volunteering. And you can go, this is my mission now. Like, you get to direct your own mission in the sense of, like, what am I focusing on with my set of skills and talents and everything like that. And so that's what this kind of provides for you. Is that fair to say? Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of the next step. I'd say all of our core staff are all veterans. Like, that's been like, I'm done with my service, now what next? What can I do that can give the same impact, if not more? And that's what everyone there is looking for. Every person in the organization would give their shirt off their back to someone in need. They really live off of their slogan, the deed, not the glory. Because there's so many nonprofit organizations, good and bad, that toot their own horn. They overexpand on what they do. There's horrible nonprofits that steal money and not go after what their charter is and what their mission is. I mean, there's nonprofits as a whole has kind of gotten a bad rap over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And this organization is really different.
Yeah.
And I enjoy being a part of it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Let's say there's someone, I like to think, at least the audience, the folks that tune into my stuff, whoever you may be, are really good-hearted people generally. And not everybody's a serviceman or woman, a veteran or anything like this. What can someone that's just sitting at home, hanging out, or they're driving across country, or they're traveling the world and they're watching and listening to this, what can they do to support Sentinel Foundation in different ways? Not just like, of course, any organization you could donate to, but what are other things that people could do that's like, this would have a wonderful impact for Sentinel Foundation and the mission of saving children from trafficking?
Absolutely, bringing awareness to the situation. People are straight blinded by the situation of affecting us in the United States and abroad. It's everywhere, and I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head now, but you basically find any large event like the Super Bowl, and I believe, and this was a couple years ago, the statistics, but the Super Bowl and the PGA Golf Tour event and the Waste Management Open, I think is what it's called in Arizona. Two biggest trafficking events of children in the U.S. happening right there, like bad, like, terrible. Hundreds of children at those events, and it's just like people look at those and think it's a fun event. We're going to celebrate the Super Bowl party. We're going to go watch golf, and all these horrible things are happening. And that you could think of that, you could assume that anywhere at any large event, there's probably something like that happening. So just getting smart and reading the statistics that are out there. There's lots of wonderful organizations that bring awareness, not just ours. to the problem. Donation, like you said, is always awesome, but so many people have no idea what's going on around them, that just bringing the awareness up to local politicians, to your friends and families to be aware, it'll help reduce the problem quite a bit. And don't take my word for it. Like, look it up, and statistics don't lie. It's bad, and they can always start from our website at foundationsentinel.org. There's lots of resources they can look into and just get smart of the topic. I mean, there's always a way that you can help. Think outside the box. There's something that you could do to help some way.
Yeah. I'm going to pause right here and just hammer this home a little bit. So, Super Bowl, I've heard of this for sure. Like, trafficking, not just child trafficking, but human trafficking, adults being trafficked as well. You're blowing my mind, though, with the waste management. So, me being a golfer, over 20 years of golf, right? I started when I was like 13 years old. So, I've been playing for 23 years. I've been well aware of the waste management and watch it grow from, Tiger hitting an ace on 17 ages ago, and just everything growing over the last few decades, especially for waste management, and it going from a lot of really hyped up golf enthusiasts to now anybody who has nothing to do with, like, it's notorious that waste management is, you can have no idea what golf is or how to play the game or what the game is about, and you're still going to show up to waste management because it is just a massive party. And so people are getting hammered. Every year there's video of people wasted management is what a lot of people talk about, and everybody just gets hammered, like crazy drunk, stumbling, bumbling, everything you can think of. It has never, even to right now, and I've been aware of Sentinel Foundation, child trafficking is, to me, one of the most egregious things that a human could possibly do. I've been aware of these things, but hearing that waste management is one of the larger trafficking events is like, that's mind-blowing to me. This is the first I'm hearing of this, and it makes me really want to question a lot of stuff. First and foremost, I know I have golfers in my community here. What in the world should people be doing, or could people be doing, that, let's say they're attending waste management and they're in Scottsdale, in and around the area and all this stuff, like, what can people do in terms of situational awareness and try to just have extra eyes and ears on situations that might be able to say, like, hey, something is amiss here, let me raise a flag to an authority figure? What sort of things should people be looking for when you're talking about, hey, here's kind of how traffickers tend to move, whether it's specifically, in the U.S. and around an event like waste management or anywhere else? Like, what are some themes that people like myself can look out for when I'm like, hey, I'm out at waste management, I'm at this tournament or at the Super Bowl or whatever, but I also want to have great situational awareness, even more in a situation like that, and here's some stuff to look out for to hopefully be able to catch something and spot something?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with, being location near the border. So, all that illegal activity going across the border, you can almost always associate, trafficking of anything, persons, drugs, money, anything that looks fishy will be. I mean, if it sounds like a duck, looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Like, that's same thing. If you're at a location, I mean, I wouldn't say it's specifically happening like at the golf event, but it's all the after parties and all the crazy stuff. Usually, like, there's never not drugs at any of these, the big busts that the law enforcement does. There's never not prostitution. I mean, you poking around, areas of strip clubs and prostitution, like, you probably got a high probability that some of that stuff's going to be around there. And then if you add drugs into the mix like that, I mean, you're just shooting the odds up higher and higher. And that's kind of being around a bad situation. That's where it'll be. It's kind of all around us. We don't pay attention to that. You and I aren't going to go to these risky establishments and be around these problems. But that's kind of where it lies in the shadows of where average people like you and I don't go. It's just if you think you see something, there's no harm in calling a dispatch or a police officer over and letting them know what you see, and then just carry on with your day.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I also, it's like the street code, like snitches get stitches, right? And so, everybody has that fear. Like, I could think about this where it's like, man, something is off here, and the first thing that comes to mind is like, get out of the situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's if you're somewhere and you're like, oh shit, you're at a party and it's partying after midnight and shit's starting to take a little turn and you're starting to see some people show up that might not have been invited or been there, whatever it is. And first thing is like, I should probably get out of here, right? So having the awareness and the wherewithal to then be like, I should probably alert somebody before something really pops off or anything like this. But then you're like, the battle is snitches get stitches. I don't want to be a snitch, especially if nothing was really going to pop off. Like, where do you reconcile with which side should you err on with this?
I mean, life is so precious. I think I'd err on the side of caution, and say something. If nothing's going on, then the truth will come out, and you carry on. You don't need to be the Karen there screaming and pointing and saying, I'm going to call cops, and hold the camera in your face. That's probably how you'll get beat up and get some stitches. But just being an anonymous reporter and allowing the law enforcement to do their job and investigate the situation, that's I think the biggest piece of it all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you have any sort of inkling of child or human trafficking, especially child trafficking, and you don't raise an alarm of some sort and it crosses your mind to do so, but you just choose not to, you fucking suck. Like, straight up. That's just the worst possible decision you could make in a basket full of options you have. If it crosses your mind like, man, I should say something, and then you don't, and it's a child especially, you fucking suck. So fix that about yourself now before you get in that situation. Okay. Transitioning. So that's foundationsentinel.org. Or on like Instagram, or I'm assuming the other socials as well, it's going to be the same, Sentinel Foundation, at Sentinel Foundation. So that's nonprofit work you're doing, and if I could cast a vote for, hey, Sentinel Foundation, I know he mentioned like, yeah, when he's done with his time in service that he would love to go and work. If I could cast a vote, knowing this guy pretty much my whole life, 100% you need this guy on board. You need him on the team. Crazy value add is what I will say. And yeah, I would love to see you taking on a lot of that work. I have other folks. I think I mentioned to you, I have a friend locally here that works in basically child abuse, child abduction, child trafficking cases, like as the full career of that individual. And it's like, God, it's such heavy work that is, I mean, when you're working on that stuff, you're having to see and experience, because you're looking at evidence and all these things, and that's heavy stuff that not everybody's strong enough or capable enough to absorb it and still go and show up the way you want to show up for your family, for your kids, for your spouse, for your community. It's heavy stuff. So people like you, like Sentinel Foundation, that are able to do the work, because it's not as if it's like, all right, we're going to work, it's going to be a fun day, we're going hitting golf balls and having fun. No. This is like heavy work. It's heavy stuff that you're doing, and there's certain types of people that are capable of doing this and are willing to do it, like yourself, that we need to support you guys the best that we can, period. So if it is, just go and give a follow or awareness, like you said. And man, child trafficking to me is like, this is the thing where, man, it's of course amplified after having kids, but it's like anybody, if you, like, the most innocent creatures that you could ever, and this is what you're choosing to try to do, of all the possibilities you could spend your life doing, like, you should be buried very deep, in my opinion. Okay, let's transition to a little bit lighter. So you have this life of, young adventure as we're growing up, and you're building tree houses and you're installing drywall when you're like 14 years old. I remember this too. And you have all these different jobs and you're wearing these different hats, and then you're in the Explorers program planning to go to join police force, and then the whole economy tanks and you're like, well, that's not an option. So you join, and then you're developing these skills and you learn Russian, and now you go overseas and you have this experience where you're like, oh man, like I am teaching this, 60 something kids, the youth, the Citizens Against Terrorism. You're teaching them how to just have the potential for a better life. You're teaching them skill sets and techniques and mindsets and tools that they can use and pass on, and that just keeps expanding. And then you get involved with Sentinel Foundation with, some D boys and all this stuff that you're like, these guys are the shit. Like, they are the dudes, and they're doing amazing work. And now it's your ability to pursue your own thing instead of just showing up and being of service, right, to the department, the group, the branch that you're serving. And you're kind of looking forward now to the rest of your time in service, which I'm assuming you're going to aim for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to go the distance. And so you're going to try to be of service as much as you can in that time as well, while you're still active, but also this. What are you doing in this era of your life? Because I know that self-improvement and personal development is kind of a core pillar for you. What things are you doing at this chapter that you're like, I still have so much more to grow? Because some people would listen this far and be like, "Oh, dude, he's lived the life. He's achieved all these things. He's there. Like another 10 years, he can hit cruise control, and that's that." But what are you doing for personal development in your life right now, and as you're planning forward?
Yeah, really kind of trying to pick a new skill and kind of develop and hone that. Always been an outdoorsman and love the camping and outdoors, but learning new techniques for hunting, and just went duck hunting for the first time, or excuse me, goose hunting for the first time this last weekend. Love it. Just different skills that bring value to you as a life, that you can help take care of yourself if you need to, and producing your own food, that kind of thing. Reading more. I've been reading a lot of different books, whether it's military history or self-care and things like that. Just trying to find something that I haven't learned before, and kind of focus a little bit of time and dedicate some of that to just add to my deck of cards.
Got you. How are you finding where to put the time? Because you can pick anything, any direction. We have infinite possibilities, so the thing that we do is like pretty key. It's pretty significant. So when you're thinking of this strategically, and you go, like what I was mentioning earlier, when I was in the long drive world, I was like, there's service that I'm lacking. I'm not being of service to other people. I'm totally pursuing this thing. I want the world title, and I'm pursuing it on my own. It's not really of service to anyone else. And I had this very real and conscious and logical thought pattern of like, there's something I could do. And so since then, I started raising money, hitting golf balls still, and putting on shows and stuff like that as a charity fundraiser. And it's a very niche thing that it's like, this is something, it provides a ton of value to people, but it's not something just anybody can get up and do, right? Not everybody can get up and hit a ball 400 yards or do trick shots with golf clubs and all that stuff and entertain for all these charities and raise more money, right? So it's like, this is where I fit in this puzzle piece of service for sure. But so to me, I call it like, that's my soup kitchen, right? Anybody can go dish out soup at a soup kitchen. Like, that's my soup kitchen in a sense. But that was kind of a conscious thing. Like, before I knew I was going to go into the charity golf stuff, I was just hungry. I was like, okay, I need to do something of service. I'm not really serving other people. I have to find something that's a missing link for my own personal development. That's what I felt. And so that's how that kind of came to be. When that opportunity presented itself, I was like, oh, boom, I got to go do this. So where you are right now, what's that gap? What is that missing link that you're looking at like, okay, let me take action and fill this and level up that attribute about myself? How are you deciding on where to focus your attention?
I'd say, a little bit of it has just kind of been luck and the ability with the military. I try to, every time I go to a new school or a new location, I kind of research that place that I'm going to, and I'm like, man, this is here, I'm going to do this. Like I did some fighting stuff when I was at one duty station, because there was some awesome gyms right outside the base. Hunting here, just kind of taking, like I said earlier, the opportunity of where you're at and making the best of your situation. And then I wouldn't consider myself like a survivalist or a prepper, but I kind of first of like being able to take care of what's mine and the people around me. So developing those skills to be able to keep myself and my family safe. That's kind of to the forefront, and then developing those skills around that, and then what's next is long-term survival, and I don't mean camping out in the woods, but financial success, long-term planning, and for when I'm not around anymore, and then it shifts towards like, well, what can I do of skill-wise to better myself to help other people. I think those are like kind of the three approaches I look at.
Got you. Yeah, that makes sense to me completely. What I'm very curious of the fighting stuff. Share what this was, how you trained, and what this all looked like, and like what your experience with that was.
Yeah. So I've kind of grew up wrestling in middle school and high school. I was always decent out after it. Then military, it's basic combatives, just the ground to ground, and then of course firearms and stuff. I'd say that's another thing that I do besides outdoor stuff. I'm a huge avid firearms guy. I love shooting, competitive shooting and things. But just there was always that skill where it's like you see, and probably shoot on TV, and then you see all these guys that are kicking ass, like Liam Neeson and Taken, and us growing up to Chuck Norris and all these badasses that can put a next level whooping on somebody. So there's some really good gyms out where I was stationed, and 2-minute walk, and I had nothing but time, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to develop myself. So I did I think 6 months of boxing and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and got my ass whooped every day by some amazing fighters, but learned a whole lot, and kind of great workout, try to stay in shape, and learned some stuff that I'll just because I was there, like those guys aren't anywhere else, so it was a great experience.
I love that. So do you still train in either of these 6 months of boxing and 6 months of jits, or more?
Yeah, I did it both. It was like I went in like an hour and a half into boxing, and then as soon as that was over, you went upstairs and fought up in the gym upstairs. So I did that. No, I've kind of, I think I'm to the point of, I invested enough time to just get kind of the basics. I'm no street fighting badass, but I think I learned to where my ability to maintain it without doing it all the time. I'm there and kind of focusing on new stuff now. It's just trying to always develop a new way. I would like to do it again one day, and my older son has gotten interested into boxing and fighting stuff, so maybe he'll want to fight with me, and we go do that something together. So
Yeah, I love it. If I can encourage you anyway, it's like, don't wait, just get back into the gym, even if it's just one time a week. Stay sharp is the I mean, like you're obviously passionate and everything with shooting. Imagine you not shooting for a long time. Like, you're not just going to go out there, cold bore it, and just crush it on target, on target, on target. It's like you got to keep training, right?
yeah, I need
So
more time.
I'm just, this is my, this is, what's that?
I need more time. I need like
You need,
26
yeah,
hours in a day, then I could do it. That would be all right.
yeah, fair. Just 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week. That's my challenge. So, shooting, very interested. What are you spending most of your time? What are you spending most of your time shooting? And what's your kind of goal with that? Like, you're just recently, like you were saying, you're just getting into hunting a little bit more with hunting goose for the first time, and that's kind of location driven. Like, this is where you're spending time at the moment, is a hunting ground, and this is what you got. So, what do you like to shoot? What's your overall goal when you're talking firearms?
Yeah. So huge pistol and rifle guy. So kind of like 3-gun type stuff, or just basic rifle marksman stuff. We kind of do that. That's one of the things we do for Sentinel Foundation. We put on an operator for a day. So we teach these donors that donate a substantial donation to the organization we teach them in a weekend how to, be soft operators. So it's running and gunning, firearm proficiency, safety, all those things. So just being able to be, nimble with a pistol. I try to always carry when I can, because the world is a dangerous place, and just keeping up with those types of deals, and it's just it's very relaxing to me, being able to go out and shoot. And again, it's another physical activity to help me stay in shape, and good workout, and it's being around friends that do the same thing, and good camaraderie, and it's a blast.
Do you still load your own ammo like you did when you were 15?
I do, not so much now. I still have all that stuff in a big tough box in the garage, so I have the capability to, but got some awesome ammo sponsors. I can plug them. Hot Munitions out of Ohio. They take care of me with ammo, and they're awesome.
That's sweet.
So, yeah, it's one of those skills that I think I mastered. I put it in this box, and I'll save it for a rainy day when I want to pull it out and dust the cobwebs off, and just have that available to do. And to me, cleaning guns and reloading ammo is almost as fun as shooting. But
really,
yeah, it's just relaxing. After you throw on some kind of TV show, have a drink, and clean your weapons, or you reload some ammo. It's just therapeutic in its own sense.
damn, that's very cool. I'm definitely not that. I'm like I enjoy cleaning it and all that. Yeah, sure, but it's not even close for me. It's like I would much rather just shoot. Like I just want to go just shoot. That's it. I don't. This time spent cleaning and all that stuff is like, but it's also, it's kind of like, I'd say it's relatable because I feel that with golf clubs. Like when I'm cleaning my golf clubs, it's like, that is very, I could sit and do that, and it's like therapeutic. It's just, you're just like, yeah, I can understand it for sure. So, what are you carrying? What's your daily carry?
Glock 19 with a compensator and red dot.
You still carry Glock.
Mm-hmm.
Glock is still your jammy jam.
Can't beat a Glock.
Okay, Glock 19. So you carry full size then?
Yeah.
And do you carry appendix?
Yeah.
You do? Why?
It's just kind of there, always there. It doesn't print as much. It's convenient. It's easy to grab kind of from any which way. If you have to you do offhand, you can still grab it out. And I don't know, it's just kind of been the standard way to carry for me for so long. I've just kind of gotten used to it. Or unless it's running and gunning on a gun belt where it's sticking out, not obviously being concealed, but
Yeah.
that's usually how I roll things. Or I'll leave it in, have one in the console in my truck, or things like that.
Yeah. And then what do you carry anything else on you? Like let's do like a pocket dump EDC, like Sean Ryan show type pocket dump. Like what's your daily carry? So you got your Glock 19 holstered, appendix carry. What else you carry?
I've got a auto opening knife, a Stroop Blades auto opening knife, and then I have like a mini Skinner knife that I'll throw, like a fixed blade knife, that I'll carry with me, and that's kind of it. And then I've got like this. It's on my keychain is a Rescue Me. They're tiny little break out your car devices, like a seatbelt cutter and a window brake, because that'd be a horrible way to go out. People don't think that they could, when they crash into water and you can't break out with anything. Glass is crazy hard to break, so I'm not going to be drowning in a box somehow if I wind up in that situation. So I always keep a little window breaker on me. But I think that's about it. It's
That's
tough
solid.
to be in the military because you got to plan. You can't bring you can't bring a firearm on post. So
Right.
having to leave it at home or drop it off with there's a gun service outside of base where you have like lockers that you could leave them and then get it when you get off work, things like that. So it's all different considerations that if you're not in the military, you can carry your gun almost anywhere. So it's just different things to have to consider.
What's your message to folks in the world, in the United States of America, who have considered carrying, don't carry, have considered like, oh, I have an interest in that, but I'm kind of scared to, or I don't really know where to start? Like, what's your message to folks that don't carry?
I mean, a gun, a firearm's a tool, and you can get smart on it. I'd say if you have even a small interest in it, jump on YouTube or social media anywhere. There's probably a legitimate source that can start teaching you the basics and get you comfortable. And then there's everywhere I know of, every state has an awesome concealed carry or a intro to firearms class that you could jump in on, or with a friend that you know that has firearms that you'd be comfortable being around, and just kind of go and experience it and try it. It's not scary. It's your right as a U.S. citizen to be able to carry, and you might as well know how. Or if you don't want to carry, just learn how a firearm operates and its potential of what it can do. Just be smart on the topic.
Yeah. I'm going to challenge that a little bit. You said it's not scary. I'm going to say it is scary. For somebody that's like, I've never shot a firearm or anything like that, and you understand the power, the respect of like this tiny movement could end life, like that's power. It is scary. It does go boom. I'm going to say it is scary, for sure. It is scary, but it's not, especially like you mentioned, like if you get with somebody that's a reputable person, go look up your local range and just go take an intro class or a firearms class with an instructor, a certified instructor. It's something that it is scary in the way that the potential of it is scary, but it's totally, what's the word I'm looking for? It's
Manageable.
reliable.
Yeah, and manageable.
Yeah. It's reliable and manageable scary, in the sense of like, it's not just going to go boom out of nowhere, unless you have like a really shitty firearm that, whatever. If you go, especially with a legit person, it's not going to be outrageous, randomly scary. It's just like, okay, it's not going to go boom unless you make it go boom. And I'm going to show you how we make it go boom, and you'll be expecting it to go boom, and it's not scary. And if you go with somebody that's trusted and legit and everything like that, the fear of it is totally negligible. You're just like, rather than somebody that doesn't know firearm safety and they're waving barrels around and all that stuff, they take you at your pace, and a good instructor is going to do exactly that. They're going to read you right off the bat and be able to say, oh, this person is just terrified and looking at it like very scared when it's not even anywhere close to them or anything like that. I know that I'm not just going to pick it up and wave it around. I'm going to go at your pace so that it's not something that's just terrifying and something crazy goes off. So that being said, I would say it is scary, but it's not something scary to avoid. It's something scary to just respect at a high level and find someone that you know, like, and trust, and you can say, okay, I'm going to put my trust in this person who clearly has the experience, the know-how, and they're going to take care of me and, help me reach my goal of proficiency with being able to operate or being able to carry comfortably, and that journey and so on. So that's the caveat that I would say. You can weigh in on that though as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if you can drive a car, you could fire a firearm. I'd say they're very closely related. You can end a life with a vehicle in the blink of an eye if you don't know how to properly use it, and it could be just as scary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, driving was scary when you first. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
look at everyone that's driving a car. They got the training. They did their hours of driver's training, and they got comfortable using it. And
Yeah.
now you can drive comfortably. It's the exact same thing with a firearm.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even for me, when I started carrying, it was like I was doing dry runs. So like I got my holster and all this stuff, and then I was literally walking around carrying just holster for a few days, and then I would carry a totally empty firearm in the holster on body for a few days just to get comfortable with that, comfortable with the feeling. And I never even carried until I went through like a course. I went through a full like protector course where it was like combatives, firearms, all that stuff. And then after that, it was still like, let me slow go before I start carrying one in the chamber, because it was just, it's a level of comfort. And I didn't feel like I had trained up to that level yet. So it's the same exact thing like you're saying with driving. When I first started driving and I got behind a car, it was like, oh shit, dude, this is crazy. Like every little move and the whole several thousand pounds shifts and all that, like, Yeah, and I learned to drive on a manual transmission on a stick, so even
The same
more.
car that your brother had, right? That we went and did the
Yeah,
burnouts with. Ryan smoking
yeah,
the Shadow's tires. Yeah,
yeah, that very one. That's right. The Tercel. I think what was it, like a '92 Tercel, I think.
it was clean though.
That's so funny. Um, yeah, so that's my take there. So, are you competing? You say it was hops out of Ohio?
Yep.
Okay, so are you competing? Are you three gunning? What are you doing with your firearm stuff?
Not really competing right now. I've just been so busy with the nonprofit and the work. But the
Yep.
nonprofit, like I said, gets me into that. So we do our little own internal competitions. Huge into training. I do a lot of pistol and rifle training with a lot of our donors, and that time I do that. So that's kind of where all my involvement was. And then recently taking up skeet shooting and waterfowl hunting. So that's kind of where I've been moving to. And man, it's a different game. I could hit bullseyes all day with a rifle and a pistol, but getting my ass whooped by a 70-year-old woman twice a week now at the skeet range shooting a over under shotgun's been a whole new humbling experience. I'll tell you that. So,
Good on you for stepping in there, dude, and keep it on showing up. That's great. It's like jujitsu. Like you got your ass handed to you day after day, but you kept showing up. Now you're just doing it in a different arena, which is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier, I want to touch on this a little bit. You were talking about like your kind of core and how you're looking at your development and everything right now is survivability for you, your family, and then extending that out to longer lengths of time. Hunting would be a key part of that, right? If everything goes crazy, we get attacked, our grid goes down, water's poisoned, all this stuff, and you're like, well, I got to provide for the family. So hunting would obviously be one of these ways that you would do it. Harvest your own food. What other stuff are you like? This is so important to develop your ability to just survive an emergency right now, anytime, and being prepped. Like, what other stuff are you? How are you looking at that whole process of survivability in emergency situations?
Yeah, so it kind of started, and I guess I'll plug my new entrepreneurial company, Mission Box. um, we
Yeah.
started with, I've always, like you said, grown up doing this stuff and just kind of being second nature. Then the Army throwing me in all these SEER schools and just survival, and then helping with a nonprofit. That was kind of the turning point. So Hurricane Helene in North Carolina devastated the mountain region, like Boone, North Carolina area, just destroyed, wiped these homes off the map. And standing back and observing, just seeing these people that, these people could hunt better than me, kind of live their life in the woods better than me. Like they had it kind of just, they were their own type of people. Like if you want to, like, no disrespect to them, call them mountain people or whatever you would like to call them. They just had a different lifestyle that you and I grew up with, living in suburbs or a city, and to
Yeah.
see them struggle with just losing infrastructure, losing their ability to communicate, their ability to survive the cold, and all those terrible things that we all witnessed. That kind of led me into this idea of like the core of being able to keep yourself alive. And even if you have no idea about survival, I think most people can pick the things that they need, like food, water, shelter, and they expand that into fire and warmth and communication. Those big things are kind of key to survival, and being able to have those capabilities, to be trained and understand that, and just having the resources around you to be able to have you be alive for a few days during a bad situation, and will pay dividends to be able to protect your family, be able to you know move towards what's next. Not telling you to go hide in the hills for the rest of your life, but be able to survive a couple days when the law enforcement and public is getting their shit together and figuring out what to do next. Like being able to have that window of protection on yourself and your family is huge.
Yeah, for sure. So Mission Box is what? Is this like a subscription service? Is this like a
You know, so I build basically 72-hour like survival boxes for yourself or your family. And then also I do some training and stuff like that. So I wouldn't call it SEER training, but preparation training, just steps to be able to be prepared and sustain, a standard of being able to provide, life and sustenance to yourself for that critical window of where there's no help. So that's kind of, I was at a gala, and one of these people reached out to me like, man, like, this would be brilliant. You should do this. I'm like, no way. Like, this is, everyone knows how to do this. He's like, you're like speaking like a soldier. You're speaking with all your friends that know how to do this, who you grew up with your whole life. But like, look at these people on the other side of the room. They have no idea how to probably even make a campfire, or how to, purify drinking water and stuff. So I'm not trying to sell like the Dave Canterbury experience where you're like, going out and killing a deer, naked and afraid. You're naked and you got to skin it and put it on your back. But it's like just being able to take the stuff that you could buy at Walmart, or the kits that I provide that are on the higher end of things, to be able to just stay safe and stay prepared if there was an emergency. Also just trying to figure out, I think I might expand a little bit and do kind of like experience boxes. So like, you and your family have never been camping before, I could provide a box with everything you need to have fun, experience in camping for a weekend with your family, and you have no idea what to buy. So instead of wasting 30 hours watching YouTube videos and trying to find out a sleeping bag you have to get, or a tent, or what kind of dehydrated food, or what or not, just having a curated like total package to be able to provide that to a customer base. So that's what I'm working on. It's very rough. I've done building the website. As I go along, I've got like all my accounts created with vendors, and building a company from ground up. It's been very difficult, but again, learning a new life skill of being a startup organization. It's been tough but super rewarding, and I've made a couple sales already, and it's awesome. I enjoy it. So
Love that. Oh man, that's so cool. So Mission Box, is this sort of made to order? Like, if it was like, hey, it's just me and my wife, or it's like, hey, it's me, my wife, 8 of our children and 4 grandchildren, and like, you're customizing this
100%,
specifically
yeah.
to each individual.
Yep. So that's the intention too. Is like, I got a tab on the website called Build a Box, that you can like give me your parameters, and we could design something together. Or I've got pre-made stuff. Everywhere from the small one you could throw in the trunk of your car, to a pretty big one that you need a couple people to lift up, but that has everything from, my biggest box has like a Starlink in it, SATCOM devices, and tents and things to purify water and food. Like, they're all inclusive. So the big ones cost a lot of money, but I mean, it's not me making the money. It's just that's what things cost. Like,
And frankly, if you're talking about, what's that?
survival is expensive. Like, and
Yeah.
not buying crappy Chinese made stuff that you don't want to depend your life on. Like, that's huge too. That's a lot of companies that I've researched and looking at, that you can buy a kit for half the price of mine. Well, you look at the stuff, and I have all American made stuff that myself or friends have personally used in situations within the military. Or you've got this stuff that was bought off of Alibaba or Temu that might work, might not. I mean, I'm not going to depend my life on something that I buy off of Temu for sure. But that's that's just my point of view.
Yeah. To each their own. I think the point here is like, how much is your life worth?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, if you have to spend a little bit extra or a lot extra, it's like, cool. Well, how much is your life worth? If you died tomorrow, would you pay $1 million to live for another month, another year, another 2 years, whatever it may be? Like, how much is your life worth? That's kind of what it comes down to. That's very cool that you customize these boxes, and you have the option of like, here's just a ready-made box. The whole expansion you're talking about for folks that want to go camping and stuff, it's like, you just pay and play instead of all the digging and researching and trying to. And then also, like, buyer's remorse. I can't tell you how many times I paid for something that I went out and I tried it camping. Here's a prime example. For my oldest brother's, what was it? His 30th birthday. For Billy's 30th birthday, we are going on a brothers camping trip, and I'm like, well, I got a tent, and it's a 4-person tent. So like the three of us, right? Myself, Billy, and Ryan, will be golden.
Perfectly.
So
Four people tent for 5'2". Like,
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So we go, and man, this was my dumbass fault because I didn't, test and everything before packing. We just went out, and first time really setting the tent up was when we were out in the shit. Set the tent up. It was like, where's the rest of it at? Myself and my brothers were all 6'2", 6'3", 200 plus. And this was not a 4-person for anyone our size. It wasn't even a 3-person. We luckily fit in there, but we're like shoulder to shoulder, head and feet at the ends of the tent. It was bad. But this is like that experience. You go, cool. I can work with Mission Box and figure out here's kind of the parameters for myself, my family, who all's going on this. And you're like, yeah, perfect. Here's the box. You don't need to do the research. I'll do all the digging. I've got all the know-how. I know that all of these things are reliable. I'll just ship it to you, and you're ready to go. You're good to go.
yep.
That's pretty
100%.
sick.
And all the brands and everyone, they're all, lifetime warranty on most of the stuff. Like, it's stuff that's built to last. And even the medical company that I use for all of the first aid kits and everything, I just found them. They're an American-made company called Refuge Medical. If you use anything in that kit to save a life, they replace it for you for free. So, I mean, you're paying upfront cost, but again, to save a life, and you have to use a tourniquet or some kind of bandage or some kind of, thing that is in those kits, so they replace it for free for you. So it's truly paying for itself to be safe.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. At that point, you basically have a one-time payment for a lifelong subscription.
Yeah.
That's a great deal. So what's the best way for folks who are like, I should prepare, but I'm not really pulling the trigger or anything like that. But this Mission Box thing, it sounds pretty cool. Plus talking to this guy and hearing his story, or I want to support Anthony and his friend is doing this stuff or whatever. What's the best way for somebody right now in this chapter for you? And then down the road, let's say a year down the road from, this podcast will go out probably late March or early April. So what's the best way for someone to support you right now and then a year from now for Mission Box?
Yeah, I mean, just going on and checking out the website and seeing it's ready to go. It's a full setup Shopify user experience, so you can check out things, email me. All my contact information is on the website, so it goes directly to me for you have any questions. Reach out. I mean, email would probably, you can get your point across a little bit better with what you're looking at. So just reach out and ask questions for anything. The nonprofit for the Mission Box, anything. I'm happy to talk with people. So
I love it. All right, let's land this thing. Give your message, whatever it may be, whatever we haven't talked about that you're like, man, I hope this comes up. What would that be? And then what's your ultimate message that you just want to get out to the world? This is I have a megaphone. I have a PA system hooked up in my car, and everybody on the planet can hear this.
Yeah, man. I'd say is pay it forward and be a selfless servant and be kind and gracious and do unto others as you'd want done to yourself and enjoy life and improve yourself and the others around you, and you're gonna be happy when it all comes to an end. You can die a happy man
Or woman.
or woman.
Yeah, this is we're being fully inclusive here.
All inclusive, everybody.
Dude, I'm glad we got to catch up, first of all. Second of all, I love the work you're doing, not only for yourself and like the challenges you're putting yourself in, losing to these 70-year-old ladies in this new arena of shooting and everything for yourself, but the way that you're just constantly improving and have the whole, 30 years that I've known you, you just keep on pushing. How can I grow? But also the time you're spending outside of yourself, outside of your military service, and getting with Sentinel Foundation, and then Mission Box, where you're like, everybody already knows this stuff, and somebody encourages you like, no, they don't, and you go, well, this could save lives. Why don't I do this? This is a great way to put time and energy into my entrepreneurial journey, is to save lives rather than just make a buck. Because there's other stuff you could do and monetize that wouldn't really be as impactful as setting people up for surviving catastrophes.
Yeah,
so that's very cool that you're putting your time and your energy and effort into that. And man, I'm very proud to call you a lifelong friend. I'm proud of the life that you have built and the decisions you continually make. And as always, I support you 100%. As my mom's favorite friend of mine, that growing up, my mom's favorite friend on one side of the aisle, let's say. And yeah, man, it's just so cool. It's so cool to catch up and hear these things and see the journey. And I learned a good bit here. And I would love, when we do reunite, I would love to go shooting. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Just give me a time and a place, man. We can do it.
Oh man, I love it. And you're shooting 9mm.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Same.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
What grain?
A 147.
147 plus P or no?
No. And the hot munition stuff is it's poly coated, so you can shoot up to like close as 5 feet on steel, and it doesn't ricochet. Like, it's super friendly for training.
What?
So for realistic training situations, the stuff's awesome. Yeah, check them out.
Are these Full Metal Jacket or defensive rounds?
So they're brand new training rounds. They've actually, I think, just had their first situations of being used in an actual like live shooting. They're pretty deadly rounds, but they were based for training, safe training to engage steel at close ranges. But it's awesome.
That's sick. I need to try this out. I need to test this out. All right, well, we'll wrap it here. If there's anything else that we didn't cover, just, hit me up, and we'll do it again sometime. But, man, seriously, I'm so freaking proud of you. I love you dearly, the family. I just, man, so much love to you and the things that you're doing, and I appreciate you taking the time and spending the time here, and I think we did a pretty good job dancing around the stuff we needed to dance around.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, check out Sentinel Foundation, Mission Box. Is it Mission Box? What? Missionbox.com, I'm guessing?
It's mission-box.com. Absolutely.
Mission-box.com. That's where you can get in touch with G here and fire away all your questions, your appreciations, send love that way. You can also send it to me, and I'll forward it on to him, whatever questions or love. I can get that over to him. And, yeah, I love it. I love this time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Have a good day.
All right, you too.